I completely screwed up the band. There we go.
It's fine.
I knocked my mic over. I'm having a day, y'all.
That's the spirit for supervillains.
I am my inner saboteur is my own supervillain. Yeah. Welcome everybody to the Cup, part of the Currently Unnamed Podcast Network, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come here first to quench your thirst. I'm Brook, and I'm passionate about pop culture, and I'm here to ask you one very important question. Does track record actually matter? We'll discuss today at length. But yeah, before we continue on, you can also get your merch, including an unlimited 2-cup mug at largecreations.etsy.com. The link is in the QR code in this corner, this one, and over by Micha's head. And also, you can click the link down below. Bam.
Hey, hi, it's me, Micha, your Parisian correspondent, and I'm having a pretty nice night with a drink of water. And just as any good teacher would, I'm also asking you a question. Have you ever thought about running for office? Because that was a question brought up in this episode, and in a very particular circumstance, let's put it that way.
Yeah, so we are talking about episode 8 of season 2 of Dragula Titans today. The unannounced semifinals, apparently, because next week is the Last Supper, not a competitive episode. So thank you so much, Dragula, for letting us know that in advance.
Or isn't it going to be a competitive episode? It's going to be Last Supper with a competitive twist, apparently, but we'll see.
Yeah, so we do know that... We'll go ahead and talk about it now. We do know 3 of the 4 in the finale by the end of this episode. And we do not know who has won the Hellbound Showdown yet, and that it will be revealed during the Last Supper in some capacity. And we discussed it. We don't really know how that's going to work at this point. We don't know if they're going to give us like a Hoso making the top 4 kind of moment, or if it's going to be like an actual instance of the Hellbound Showdown. If it is, challenges, so it's kind of like a big mixed up in the air bag. We're not really sure what's going on. But what I can say is it'll be interesting either way, and I'm curious to see where things go from here.
Yeah.
So we get a Boulet message. They do the Wonder Woman spinny transition into the Boulet outfits. It was quite cute. Good job. No appearance from Rug this week.
Yeah,
Boo.
that was a bummer.
Rug makes the Boulet messages so much more entertaining. Despicable.
I mean, they were pretty cool. They felt that their transition from like basically school teachers again to their supervillains suits is gonna make kind of for the absence of the Rug. Rag was needed.
Anytime I see a drag performer dressed up as a school teacher, I can only think about Hurricane Bianca. So, I'm just being honest. I'm just being 100. Okay. For some reason, I'm on TikTok a decent amount, and you will get those random videos of like, insert clip from TV show or movie here that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with one random word throughout the dialogue. I get so many of those for Hurricane Bianca, and it's always the same scene too. Like I get some of them, but I get Hurricane Bianca at least once a week. Like, and it's kind of annoying at this point. Yeah, so we get a little bit of a Boulet message. It's cute. And then we go to the monsters entering the lab. And we discuss, we don't even really talk too long about Sigourney.
But in a very funny way. Yeah. I mean, Abhora says to Evah, describe how you feel about Sigourney's elimination. And Beaver just cackles, and that was it. Mm-hmm. The face says it all.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, and it was really interesting because on the one hand, I mean, we talked about it last week. Did Sigourney actively, was Sigourney, in terms of, based on track record, Sigourney was not the person that should have went. Based on that challenge, I think it was debatable. It's kind of where we had landed on by the end. But Sigourney, shooting herself in the foot in the social element of this show. It was really interesting. And the Boulets talked about on their podcast, people were asking why they've done so many different variations on eliminations this season. They said because they don't want to do the same thing every episode.
For 20 years, as they said, as some TV shows do. I do remember that was a great show.
So damn hard. It was so funny. But they're like, we don't want to have two people battling out to the most random pop song you could possibly think of for 20 years. And I was like, okay. As a lip sync enjoyer, that hurt. But they talked about this. We want to keep the monsters on their toes, and when they're doing the regular show, they know what they're getting into, and they know what the format is. Titans, they shouldn't know what the format is, and that's part of the challenge. And I was like, yeah, I think I agree with that. It's a little confusing and annoying as a viewer when we don't know what's going on, but good stuff.
But also judging from this very Cauldron, like from the beginning, where everybody was pretty on the same page from the top 5, it's kind of clear that whoever ended up with this weapon of mass destruction of Sigourney would have eliminated Sigourney, just as we talked last week.
Yeah, I think the only person who maybe wouldn't have was Abhora, and I think that's just because Abhora didn't really... I don't know what Abhora will do at any given moment, much less with that kind of power in a competition like this. I could realistically see Abhora shooting anybody other than Evah. And I would be like, totally... Yeah, I could see it. Everybody else, though, Sigourney. That would just been the whole conversation. We also get a really funny moment from, I think it was Jaharia, where she's like, if it were me and she started doing that crap with me, I would have told her to sit down, that I'm eliminating her, and see if everybody wanted to get drinks. The
queen of social gaming, unlike Sigourney.
Unlike Sigourney. So we don't really spend a ton of time here. It's mostly just, talk about Sigourney. We do begin to see Cynthia lightly poking at Abhora and trying to get Abhora agitated. That will become a through line throughout the episode. But for the most part, it's just kind of a standard intro to the lab thing. Then we get the Boulet alarm, where we find out it's the supervillains challenge.
Yeah, long time no see. Very long time no see.
Was season 3 the last time?
Indeed. The first and the last time, I believe. That was the premiere of season 3. Which, by the way, was brought up this episode because they compared Evah's look to the look that she did back all the years back then. All the way.
Yeah. It was really interesting to see this get announced because I'll be 100 here. About an hour before the episode dropped, I got the outcome spoiled to me, right? I was scrolling TikTok and I stumbled upon literally the moment where somebody got dropped through the gallows. I'm like, well, at this point, I might as well watch the rest of this clip. And I was looking at the outfits. I'm like, are they doing the supervillain challenge again? And apparently here we are. I am not going to complain. I'm actually kind of excited about this. I think this was a really great grab. It's not something that people are really going to prepare for because it's not like, when you think of iconic Dragula challenges that they are going to redo or retry on Titans, I don't think the supervillain challenge is going to be the first thing that pops in a lot of people's heads.
I think, and this probably might get me some daggers and arrows from super fans, but in many ways, the original season 3 supervillains challenge to this one, which we got later and we're going to discuss at length in a moment, is what season 6 musical was to what we got last week. I mean, in terms of quality and quantity and all of that, because for the season 3 premiere, not only the expectations were not as high at all, half the cast came pretty much unprepared, not everybody was on theme, and so it was kind of... Yeah, it was much more crafty in how Drag Race loves to use this word kind of way. So this was a great kind of redemption moment, as much as Rocky Horror, the variations was last week for the musical challenge overall as a concept.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Out of, I believe, every single floor show this season, this was my least favorite. And not because of anything, about the theme. I think the theme was really cool. I feel like a lot of people just didn't get the assignment. And some of the people did. And we'll talk about the people who did get the assignment. I think specifically 2 people got the assignment. One person maybe didn't fully get the assignment, but did a really good job nonetheless. And 2 people, I don't know what you're doing, Chad. But here we are. But we, again, this actual lab segment after we find, also we should mention, they also tell them that Todd McFarlane is going to be one of the judges this episode, which is absurd. What the hell?
Well, on one hand, like as he should. On the other hand, yeah, that's a big deal.
Well, okay, no, this is not shade to Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
When I think, oh yeah, we're gonna have a comic book person guest judge on Dragula, he would be a fantastic grab. I would just assume he would never do a show like this. Oh, how wrong I am. And we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the critiques. One of the best guest judges we have had in a long ass time. He was incredible. Him and Steve Orlando, they were both fantastic this week. If they do the supervillain challenge again, you should. Bring both of them back, because they were a really good duo, dynamic duo, if you want to make the pun. But they added so much dimension to these critiques on a challenge. Like, it kind of reminded me of when they did the Killer Dolls challenge, and you have Don Mancini and Jennifer Tilly there talking about, like, obviously they know what they're talking about.
That's the best part of any guest judgment ever. I think to piggyback off your point that not all people got the assignment, I think not that we need to bring much stuff like from Titans 1 and many gimmicks from that season, but as their penultimate challenge, when the top 5 had to also basically read out the script for their like horror movie character, I think in this case that would help as an additional asterisk on the assignment, because people who didn't get the assignment, those 2 probably could have had a clear vision in their look if they also had to do like sort of monologue or something like this. But yeah, just a side note.
Yeah, I agree, and this is something that when they talked about this challenge, my first thought was they need to do this like it's the Drag Tots challenge on All-Star 6, right? Because the look can be stunning, right? And I will say, I think out of everything we saw on the runway, I think 3 of these looks were really, really great. I think one of them was a good look, and one of them was fine, personally. We'll talk about it. But not giving them the opportunity to really explain who they are, kind of, it's a little contrarian to what a comic book is. The visuals tell a lot of the story, but there is text to help convey the visual. So people understand, like, there's a reason that photos have captions on them. It's so that way you can easily understand what you're looking at if you don't fully get it just on the visual. And I think that would have helped a lot of people this week. But yeah, we don't really get a ton of content in the lab. We get a few construction segments as expected.
And also we get a very fun part when Abhora starts kind of going, self-spidering herself, self-webbing herself in her corner. We get a hilarious comment by JK saying that Abhora's going crazy, and then Abhora and Beaver kind of fight, which is very childish but very funny as supervillains.
Yeah. And again, I'll be real, I thought we were getting set up for an Abhora goes stupid and goes home at it. I honestly thought they were going to be like, Abhora couldn't take it. Abhora cracked under the pressure, and this is this is what happened. And Abhora's not going to hit the final again. I really thought that. Not what happens, but it was quite interesting to watch that scene in particular. But then, I mean, at this point, Misha, I feel like we're dancing around the floor show. So, do you want to just get into the floor show?
Yeah, just one quick side note with Cynthia explaining that her character is not about beauty, and JK saying that Cynthia's mind is working in a parallel reality, just like on a different track from everybody else's. And when Cynthia, for some reason, decides to pontificate about how beauty standards are ruining everything, and her supervillain is about anti-beauty standards, JK mumbles this phenomenal line: "Have you ever thought about running for office?" Which is like, yay.
Can we also just say the like 3-minute scene of Cynthia explaining her concept to then JK going, we've all kind of figured out that Cynthia's mind works a little bit different than everyone else's.
Everybody else's, yeah.
She gets from point A to point B, but she goes from A to X to Z to blah, 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 all the way, and then she ends up at B, right? And Cynthia then explaining what her perspective is on her look and how she got there. I cannot stress to you enough. I have this feeling that this clip is going to become one of those like iconic Dragula clips. It is so damn funny. I was laughing the entire time.
It's like, yeah, she even topped her let's put it that way, audition for season 5 when she was in the woods and started like breaking down, screaming and like wallowing in dirt and all this kind of stuff, which the Boulets brought up at the last supper. I have to ask you, what the fuck was that? And it's basically, Cynthia. I have to ask
you what the fuck was that is a pretty good definition of Cynthia Doll in general.
And especially given all this monologue led to this look. So we're going to discuss it on the runway. Yeah, it's going to be the time for the flush show.
Attention competitors. Attention competitors. The floor show is about to begin.
All right, let's get it going. Like we mentioned, here is your lovely cast. Did not realize Steve Orlando was this short. But also, how big of a heel is Drac wearing right now? That's the real question.
Didn't realize Drac was this tall.
Yeah, didn't realize Drac was this tall. Steve Orlando is probably like a 5'8", 5'7" man. And he's just like living his best life, and Drac's just over here in like 6-inch pumps and totally like.
Yeah, it's going.
It's crazy.
Almost to 2 meters. Yeah, for metric people.
Exactly. But yeah, so I'm just gonna say right now, by the way, these Boulet looks.
Yeah, simple but effective.
I don't care if it's a basic bodysuit or your unitard or whatever. I love the addition of the red. I mean, it kind of gives wrestling in a way of like the way the belt is shaped. It kind of looks like a title belt, but at the same time, it's still got that like era of like, I am the Spider Woman. I will eat your butt alive. You know what I mean? Like that kind of energy. Yeah. So love to see it. I think it looks great. And like we mentioned already, Steve Orlando and Tom McFarlane are your guest judges. Steve, prolific comic book writer. Tom McFarlane literally created Spawn, if you need to know why he is here. So alongside also writing a shit ton of comic books. So here we are. So in the category of supervillains. First up, Evah Destruction.
And she was Destruction.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. A lot of the people on this runway, and I'm going to say a lot of people, really everybody but JK, kind of just, and Abhora, came in as a villainized version of themselves. And that's okay. That's totally fine. One person did that really, really well. Hi, Evah. How you doing? And the other, we'll talk about it when we get there. And I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, based on the performance that Evah gave, I have no problems with Evah's placement this week. However, I would like to go ahead and note something that the Boulets didn't know in this performance. And it kind of bugged me because normally they would have been all over this. Anybody else catch her trip on that train? I saw her trip on that train. The Boulets didn't talk about it, but I was kind of gagged that they didn't bring it up, because normally that's something they would have at least mentioned. This is only because Evah's drag is so elevated. It does feel a bit safe for Evah to do this, like, I mean, again, they even bring it up. This is basically just an elevated version of her villain from season 3. And she looks great. She looks stunning. I just think there could have been a little bit more comic book, because it kind of reads a little bit Power Rangers-y to me. In a good way. That is a compliment. Power Rangers is a good thing. And to be fair, Power Rangers is about as close as you can get to being a comic book without being a comic book, so that's fine. But
well,
yeah. But I'm gonna say the first vibe I got from this was like Enchantress, and I mean that. Yeah, sure. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really solid look. I think Evah did a really great job. I think, and also, every time someone comes out with a prop this season, I have my eyes lasered to it, because I'm like, if it goes wrong, you're in the bottom. But nope, her smoking skull voodoo tiki mask thing on her stick worked. So yeah, good job all the way around. I think T, absolutely. I think this is great. And also the greens that she's pulling here on this wig. Yes.
I mean, I don't even have to like defend you particularly this week, because she did what needed to be done. I think as a comic book character, it's like a comicized version, comified version of Maleficent. It was something like this. If she had gone green, Children of Corn, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I adore this wig. I think, yeah, huge props for the prop that actually worked. I kind of, in the blink of an eye, she did trip. I think if she was the actual Maleficent, she would have tripped as well. It's kind of an character. I mean, yes, it's really cool. It does look like the elevated version of her witch, or whatever she was in season 3, like the Witch Queen, something like Ice Cold Queen. The makeup is genius, and as usual, she used the stage probably almost on par with JK. We'll talk about it, like almost more than everybody else. It was super good that she had all these power movements, but we expect them from her. And yeah, that the prop had a great scent, as testified by Jaharia, is also great. So yeah, props to you for like bringing the perfume and not like some kind of wretched, filthy thing when it's not a filth challenge.
Jaharia out here saying that she Febrezed the stage, and like, I will say, if you're gonna do smoke like that and it smells good, great. But when she said that, I could only imagine this being like a spray bottle, and all she's doing is just like spritzing the stage for Febreze. Again, the effects look much better than that, but just that's the only image I've been able to get in my head of it since I heard Jaharia say that.
To be honest, there was even something else, which we haven't seen so much, because the Blaze mentioned that she also brought like black light, and like I didn't quite see that.
I didn't
like
see
strobe
it either. I didn't see it either. And again, sometimes they cut things out and they just forget to cut the critique, or maybe it was there and we just both missed it. But you know, again, she did a really great job, and I cannot fault her in any way other than the critiques we've already said.
I mean, yeah, it's piping hot tea, absolutely.
Tea, absolutely. Moving on to JK. Concept-wise, absolutely my favorite concept of the week. This is the only person on this entire stage who said, I have a concept, an idea, and I'm making it as comic book as possible, right? That wasn't just turning myself into a comic book villain. JK said, I'm going to be an evil roach with detachable legs that I can then turn into weapons. And he did the damn thing. Like, that is exactly what this is. The makeup here is fantastic. It's stunning. Also, the the liquid cement to attach the holders on the side. At first, I thought one of them broke off because that's what it looked like in the episode. But it turns out, no, it was literally the claw was sliding. So Jay just grabbed it early. Cool. Good decision. Don't let your prop fail. But and the mouth spreader was a perfect addition to this look. I think every little detail on this is immaculate. The boots were perfect. Like, this is just perfect. I think JK did amazing this week. Absolute T.
I would second that as well. And also, I'm maybe like literally negatively biased because as a person who also like had a very unfortunate task of fighting roaches for like 3 years at one particular X-flat of mine, I think this is the best JK look ever on Dragula overall, both seasons. Even better than Ghost Town Hotel, which she won like her first ever win on season 5. I really adore this.
I will say the haunted hotel look is just stunningly gorgeous to me. But again, this is also just incredibly well executed.
I think aesthetically, of course, that one is much more pleasing. But for like the concept, the look, the realization, the mega smallish details, it's just I think the roach is giving, and the fact that all the detachable legs and hands were thrown like basically shurikens, something like this, was giving very Mortal Kombat vibes. The comic book character is insanely good. All the stuff, all the antenna, all the makeup is just just absolutely did what needed to be done. So it's mega hot tea for me as well.
This was the only critique I didn't agree with when Todd said that the airbrushing looked a little bit off on the chest piece. I think it looks perfect. And here's my thought process with it. You don't want it to be one solid color, right? If it's in a comic book, of course it should be one solid color because that's how comics look. You don't leave blank patches on a comic book. But if this is supposed to look like the skin of the cockroach, right? There will be patches that aren't the same coloration as everything else, just like on anything else. And having that difference on the material, I think adds so much more. If that was like a solid strip of orange, I would think it looked tacky, but because of the way it's airbrushed on there, it adds a lot of dimension to the look. And I think it really does elevate it a little bit more than if it was just like a New Illusion kind of orange color. You know what I mean?
I do agree.
Yes.
So overall, I mean, just Todd was critiquing from the point of view of comic book creators, so maybe that was like his main,
I mean, of course, and also I am never going to tell Todd McFarlane how to make a comic book character, but in the terms of a drag look, I think this looks better than, having that be solid like it would be in a comic.
And the leg boot part just seals that completely. Yes, so good.
Also, they mention it where a lot of people just don't really do anything with the legs. The boot on this, perfect. Go look at the boot. Just go look at this floor show and just look at JK's look up close. Incredible. Moving on to Cynthia Doll. Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and beauty standards, smash them apart, rip them apart, fuck your beauty standards. Like, I can't elaborate that whole thread that Cynthia went on, but I will say, I like this a lot. I think Cynthia did a really great job with this look. Everybody seemed to gag when she took the mask off. No! Why are we gagging? This looked 10 times better with the mask on. And I'm just gonna say, as much as I do think her beat face looks incredible, it always does, and I like the wig choice here. I think it works really well. The silhouette of her coming out with these sharp angles and this one massive eye in the center, unclockable. I think it just looks so visually interesting. It's like interdimensional supervillain comes to Earth to watch everybody. I don't know what the vibe here was. And like we mentioned earlier, I really wish they would have had that opportunity to have even a 3-word synopsis as to what they're doing. Because that could have been the difference between Cynthia. I'm not going to say making it through, but maybe even winning, because I think this look is really well executed. The translation just didn't really come across in the visual, unfortunately. But yeah, T, absolutely. This look is incredible.
I'm on the verge of giving this Luciciate Grande, honestly. I think Cynthia should have been in the top 3, and had it not been exactly for taking the eye head off and for just general confusion. her comic book character is confusion.
Confusion.
Look over there.
Over
Look
there.
over.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. 1 second, wait.
Look over here.
Yeah, exactly. I also, it's just, I'm going to throw a bone to all the music critics out there. She was the resident of the residents. And you're welcome. This was the resident look, if you ever needed one. And the residents themselves as a band were kind of comic book characters by themselves. So dragifying it to the max, and I'm sure she never heard of them, actually. It's just like literally her concept of being like this mayor of this anti-beauty standards town. I'll just have a very cool lightning to speak about Cynthia. I agree with you completely. Actually, having watched the runway for the first time, the floor show, and having watched Evah, obviously, as we did before her, I thought that what she lacked was not taking off, first of all, the head of the eye, but probably having some sort of like red lasers somewhere from within her headpiece, from within this giant eye on her head, to like have this penetrating like red laser effect, or somewhere else, maybe 2 or 3. I know it's kind of difficult because I do remember when Raja was doing this during All Stars 7 runway, glowing Afterglow runway, they had lots of technical issues. But it was kind of, it should have been mega effective. And maybe that will also help to translate her story, that she's like a supervillain who's coming like with lasers for blood, like burning every beauty standard she's not agreeing with. And that would probably have pushed her to the real top 3 places. Sorry,
I this is probably my favorite thing Cynthia's ever worn on the show. I think this is incredible. The only thing that is giving me pause is her gothic wedding look. The bride specifically, I think that look was great as well. Yeah, very great. But this is just, I mean, again, she should have won that challenge, and we shouldn't be dealing with this narrative of Cynthia not winning a damn challenge.
But going to top 3 automatically, top 4,
See, but here's the thing. JK should have won last week, and Cynthia should have won this week. So that way, not this week. Cynthia should have won the Gothic Wedding. JK should have won the Boozical, and then whoever wins this challenge would be the first person would have 2 wins, just like Abhora, and then everything would be right with the world. We're revive. But yeah, Cynthia looks great. Moving on.
Oof.
Jaharia.
Baby.
Okay, so let's get the good things out of the way. The color palette is very like I think it was mentioned by
Todd, I think. I'm not. Yeah.
It wasn't. I'm blanking on a name for some reason. Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve mentions. It's very the classic comic book villain colors, purple and green. You have like the Goblin. There's a lot of people that wear these colors. Doctor Doom. It's iconic. But that's about where all my praise ends. I think it's a latex bodysuit. Like, this looks like Mariah's All Stars entrance, honestly, with a cape.
With in other colors. Now I can't unsee it. Oh my god!
And I'm no shade. I like Mariah's All Stars entrance. It's an All Stars entrance. It's not a floor show look. And again, I will never tell somebody what to do. I am just judging it vis-a-vis the challenge. This doesn't really give comic book that much in terms of like the presentation. Yes, she's wearing a cape. A lot of people wear capes. It's not just superheroes and supervillains. I think the wig does not add anything to this. It doesn't take away from it either, but I think it's a missed opportunity to elevate the look. And Jaharia was literally just villain Jaharia. Why? I don't understand the reason for that when this was clearly an opportunity to present a character, right? Like to present a creative thought that could be different from the package they've seen all season. And we saw that with certain people. I'm going to say JK took that opportunity to just go in a completely different direction. I don't get why Jaharia didn't. Bag. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that hurts so much because first of all, historically, the Boulets are like very extra critical to somebody who is in the semifinals and not doing the very best for the semifinals. So we've seen it time and time again where they're like, okay, bitch, you failed this challenge, so no matter your track record, so bye. And also kind of making the greatest hits in one look is kind of a risk. I see this like train of thought. I think it's pretty, obvious for some time, because I understand it, because you want to do it as a creator, and like, okay, this is our like final challenge before the finale, so I'm gonna present something which is like me but upgraded, me 2.0 in a sense, 3.0, because if like going to Titans is 2.0, this is like 3.0. But this is just unfortunate that for Evah this worked out very well, and that she was like the mother of her own supervillain. But for Jaharia, it's her color palette, and I'm actually kind of surprised that Boulets kind of went softish on her in their critics, because they could have said like, "Oh my God, you've used it like 5 times already. We know it's your color palette, but this was the time to pivot. This was the time to show something completely different." Because Jaharia was like basically threw it all on her and called it macaroni. I forgot who was Steve or Todd, but one of them said that I don't want to see any zipper on my superhero, and they've seen your zipper, and it's like a kiss of death already. Why this week from Monsters of Rock challenge? I mean, yes, you won in it, almost the same week, but oh goodness, I still would give this a tepid T, and I'll tell you why. This looks very much if Jaharia's color palette was applied to Chad Michaels' winning look on their All-Stars 1 Supervillains Superheroes challenge, the only one in Drag Race history. And they won with this look, so I can't like blame Jaharia for that.
Why did you have to bring Chad Michaels into this? Now I can't unsee that.
In particular, screaming yes from the background after the double sing.
See, now you're gonna see Mariah and I'm gonna see Chad. Lovely. And you know what? That's okay. She's here to save the day. But
she is.
Yeah, okay, also, I didn't mention it because I forgot about it. I hate the way she had the cape off to the side, because part of the fun of a cape is playing with the cape. Like, using the cape to elevate the performance. If you want to see somebody do that, look at what Evah did. Evah used her train to elevate the look in a really fun, interesting way. It's a cape. Use the cape and make it fun, because they even said, we think you have something like 666 written on the cape, which for Jaharia is a great callback, but it doesn't, we didn't see it. I honestly wish Jaharia had taken that idea of saying 666 and saying, okay, I am myself. I was on Dragula season 6. They joked and called it 666. What am I going to do? I'm going to go full demonic and just make it more demon-esque. Because that could have worked. It was at least an idea, a place to go. And it just kind of feels like Jaharia said, well, this is what I have. This is what I'm doing. And I think this could have worked if it was earlier in the competition, but based on where we're at now, it just wasn't going to hold up compared to at least 3 of these looks.
But also I want to bring up the spit, and JK's comment says, what's your superpower? Spitting? It was like also the nail in the coffin of this presentation. I don't know. We will still give this a very tepid T, only for her colors, which would make it Chad Michaels' hair colors. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, she was easily the worst, I think, presentation / look of the weekend on this particular week. This is not a good thing.
I don't. Let's talk about the worst look of the week. Let's talk about Abhora. Now, I'm going to say we have seen the stilts from Abhora about half the time this season. It's been about close to 50-50 split. That is not a bad thing. I think if you can use, it's the same idea as like a masked performer, right? If they show up in a mask, but they utilize the mask in a compelling way, I don't care. I like it, actually. I think the stilts really add dimension. Here is my problem. 1, this look is literally just bizarro. There is literally no difference other than turning an S into an A on the front of this look. They have red tights, red boots, blue everywhere, yellow background in front of the red letter, with white makeup on black hair. That is literally bizarre. 1. 2, the execution of the illusion. At first, it looks convincing and then she stands up, right? That looked great. Until 1, these legs are dead. There is nothing keeping them in place, right? So they are literally just dangling and hanging like this. And as she's moving about the stage, the legs aren't doing anything. So it looks really bad until the point where she is literally uses her hands, her free hands that are supposed to be holding up the cape to help add to this illusion that this character is flying, to wobble the legs back and forth so it looks to create this really badly sold illusion that this character is flying, right? On top of that, if you know anything about Abhora, this illusion kind of works until you recognize, oh crap, there's a shoe poking through the cape onto one of the stilts. So you can literally see how this look is done during the look. I will again say, seeing Abhora without the Bard nose, I will like that because I think it's nice to see people do different beats. It's nice to see people try different things and experiment a little bit. That's great. But in terms of overall execution of the concept, this isn't an Abhora supervillain look. This is literally like, imagine if they did the Horror Icons Challenge, but for comic book villains. That's what this is. And even then, it's not a very well executed version of that. In terms of the way that looks, yeah, it looks good in terms of like the idea, like when she's crouched down and when you're not looking for little things that are wrong with it, it looks good. But when you analyze the overall picture, I can at least say this about Jaharia's look. It wasn't executed poorly. It just wasn't a very well thought out concept. This could have been a cool concept if she would have at least played with the color palette on the Bizarro knockoff and took the little details to try to make them better. All she had to do was stuff the legs and make sure the stilt didn't get poked through. That's all it had to do. And she didn't do either of those things. And it comes off looking, I don't like using this term, but I really can't think of anything better than this, half-baked. I'm not going to say half-assed because it's Dragula and they never half-ass anything on Dragula. But half-baked, yeah, half-baked for sure. So bad.
Yeah, it's like, with Jaharia and Abhora, it's kind of hard. We both agree there, like the clear bottom two. But what do you prefer, like the lack of concept or like the vision, which was gone something, but the execution was poor? It's kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm literally on the fence. For me, maybe Jaharia is just slightly less imaginative. But I agree with like with the fact that on Abhora, it really looks kind of displeasing at times, but those legs within stilts look very comical. It reminds me of when on season 5 our dear darling Fantasia had a hole inside her snake and her feet were clearly visible. I also gagged and laughed at that. And I laughed twice as hard when Abhora was trying to like rip the Bible into and couldn't proceed, which was like so much fun. Yeah, the prop, which more fun.
That was the most infuriating thing I had in this entire judging. If that had been anyone else, they would have been read to filth for it. Like, you know how Jeremy said about Alyssa, like they would say, oh, yeah, you can do XYZ, but it's okay because you're Alyssa. That was the same.
The very same. I thought about the very same thing. I thought about Carson Kressley saying, like, I don't care. It's Alyssa. She's making me laugh. It's funny. Yeah. And yeah, but still, I mean, in this case, to Boulet's credit, where credit is due, they put her up for Extermination. So, I mean...
yes, but very clearly, everybody and their mom was up for Extermination this week, except whoever won the challenge.
I know, so but like, yeah, we kind of know who the bottom two was if it was just a bottom two. So yeah, I would give this like a very cold T. Just for the way that I think still, I know we've seen Abhora use stills time and time again until the cows come home, but I really loved the moment in the start where I couldn't yet see all the imperfections when she actually lifted up. That was like super cool visually. And the stage lighting worked for her. But otherwise, yeah, the more you look, the more you get either confused or puzzled or infuriated, but mostly amused.
And also, to be clear to our lovely viewers at home, who I know a lot of our comment section are Abhora fans, I just want to be clear, right? If this was like a week 3 look and it had these issues, I would not care. It is the semifinals of the show. We have to be nitpicky. That is the entire point of getting to this part of the competition, right? In theory, anybody who's made the big mistakes, they're already out of the competition. They already went home, right? This is literally the last episode before the finale. If there are issues, they should be brought up and we should discuss them. So, yeah, I want to make that clear because I know the comments are going to say, Brook, you need to chill. Brook, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, but it is that deep. So we'll discuss more in a bit. But for now, that is the end of our floor show. We will come back for the Hellbound Showdown in just a minute.
Your judgment.
Yeah. Critiques happen. They're pretty in line with what we said, to be real. For the most part, they were pretty cut and dry. And just like last week, based on the critiques that were given, the top 2 are Evah and JK. Yeah, I would agree.
As they should, yeah.
As they should. And again, just like last week, Evah wins this floor show. Personally, I would lean a little bit more towards Jay just because I like the idea of a fully original character that is completely aside from her drag persona and executing it to this level. But I will acknowledge that Evah also did an incredible job this week, and I am not actively mad like I was after last week's episode.
Well, I'm not mad at all, but personally, yeah, I would love just for Cynthia to flesh out her concept more and probably have a story told out and not take the head out of your head, the eye out of your head. So probably she could have won and like tossed the cards like Yuri did last season, which would have been hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not mad for Evah. Evah is now, by the way, she has 7 wins across 3 seasons, like which is kind of unachievable to Dragula contestants. Yeah.
She is the most winning contestant in the history of the show. She is 7 wins by a significant margin, we should add. It is quite a gap. And I will say, I believe if you were to compare Evah to Trinity the Tuck in terms of where they were at based on their timelines, if in theory, let's say Evah comes back for an all winners in the future, they will have the same amount of wins going into that all winners. So there you go. We'll see if Evah
something to celebrate.
First. Yeah, we'll see if Evah wins the season first. But until then, we then get told that everybody else will be up for extermination in the gallows, and that only 2 of them will be making the finale. We kind of already knew that, but we didn't know it was going to be 2 people going home this week. So interesting to see how they make this all come across. And we get into the lab. It's another lab, the Cauldron. I want to talk about a couple things, but I want to really focus on this JK section first. JK I don't want to say breaks down, but does kind of break down. JK talks about being so frustrated by being the second best 2 weeks in a row, doing nothing, honestly, nothing in all intents and purposes wrong, doing everything perfectly, and Evah still beating them. And talks about how much it means to them that they got to show their growth from season 5 to this season. Talks about like how much this opportunity has meant to them and how much they've really wanted to explore this character and like show who they are to the world. First off, I want to talk about Abhora real quick. Because in a minute, we're going to hear people saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't be making personal attacks at Abhora. Abhora literally making fun of JK as they have a really emotional venting session during this moment. We're not going to acknowledge that. Okay, great. I mean, again, I'm not going to fault Abhora or Cynthia in this situation. It's a competition. Feel your feels. But I don't like the hypocrisy on display in this edit. I really feel like this is an edit setting us up for JK winning in this finale. I really do. Because this feels like one of those late in the season storylines of Jay being this close, this close, this close. What's the payoff? Is it Evah beating Jay in the finale a third time? Or is it Jay finally beating Evah in the finale? I don't know. But I believe the second one is much more likely in terms of, based on the edit of these last couple episodes of Jay finally connecting the dots and finally being enough with everything to take Evah down. I would like to see it. I think this edit really sold that for me. Now I will say, if Evah wins, I am not going to be mad. Evah has done incredible this season. But I just, let me ask you, Micha, how do you feel about that? Because that's how I came out of this session feeling of like, it almost kind of reminded me of Alaska melting down in All Stars 2 of being like, I need to win this competition. I need to be in this competition. You know, like that kind
Actually, I still wouldn't use the word meltdown here. I don't think it's like third time that JK has cried across the season. And I think JK has shown a pretty emotional side. And I was kind of impressed to see them having this kinship with Evah, because they like see each other as like their biggest fishes, their biggest threats. And like, I see you. And especially Evah saying, oh my God, I love a crying person. I love a crying soul. But first of all, like across this final Cauldron, I would like to address that everybody apart from Evah is still behaving like on inertia, like if it was last week, and they're basically pleading their case to Evah. Which is, did you mention it, Colquitt, in the edit as well? It is kind of funny because all four of them are kind of addressing to Evah, especially Abhora and JK. So it's like, yeah, I need to prove to you I should stay into the finale, which is interesting because I agree with you. This is one of two possibilities that preps us up for like JK finale win, or it preps us up for what Boulets also love, especially in the Titans one, and Evah becoming kind of like Victoria Black was that season, because she's becoming so perfect they can't help but crown her. Because I also got this kind of vibe, especially from this episode overall, because like Evah can do no wrong. It was already evident for them, like for Boulets last week, but now it's even like more pronounced. That everybody is like praising Evah, everybody's saying like, yeah, she's like phenomenal, and JK saying like I'm almost as good as her, but still, I really love that emotional moment from JK. I really believe it's like meant the world to him. But yeah, it was good they were addressing this to the room. And yeah, Bora's like going off about, oh, come on, crying Olympics, blah blah blah. But yeah, this was very interesting. Yeah, saying like, I don't. I'm not sure about the hypocrisy of the edit. Maybe it was like kind of the. I don't know. It wasn't the hypocrisy of Abhora genuinely didn't notice that. Also because JK paid no mind like to Abhora's remarks, unlike what was going to happen between Abhora and Cynthia. And yeah, Cynthia decided to like punch down Abhora as hard as she could, and then got a great pep talk from JK about why she've seen basically people doing this the entire season. They went home, and they were like grasping for the last straw. And why you're doing this, you don't have to do it. You're like a phenomenal human being. We're like friends for life now. And this was one of the best moments, I think, of the entirety of the Cauldrons this entire season. It was so good.
Yeah. Cynthia continued, like we mentioned at the beginning, there was that poking of Abhora by Cynthia. And again, I don't think he ever really crossed the line. It was kind of just, normal trying to get into people's heads kind of mentality that we've seen all season from everybody, really. But seeing Cynthia talk about, how she feels about Abhora, and then everybody kind of just responds in the same way, but Jay takes it to the nth degree and says, like you said, Micha, that, you have done so incredible. You've made it this far. Don't let yourself slip now, because you've done incredible this entire season. And we get this really sweet moment with Cynthia and Jay. and they, talk about how much they mean to each other now and how much their journey as friends has meant to them to this point now, where they started out hating each other on season 5, and now they are really great friends. And I think now may be the point where we should transition into the gallows here.
Yeah, obviously.
Now, also to be clear, Jaharia has a really nice moment where she talks about how much this experience has meant to her as well. No shade, but in terms of narrative of the story of this episode, Jay and Cynthia getting called to go to the gallows together broke my heart into, which I think was the intended effect. And they, they walk up together and they talk about how, their relationship's weird. It's complicated. And they don't know anything else other than that. They love each other, and that they wanted to do this together. And when they're standing up there on the gallows, kind of knew what was going to happen. You would have to figure what was going to happen here. But there was a little part of me that was like, are we sure this is what's going to happen? Are we sure? And I had this little bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, there would still be a way for them to do this together. And then Cynthia gets dropped through the gallows. JK is officially your second person in the finale. And Cynthia goes home in 5th. It's tied for 4th. So, for now.
We shall see. For now. Yeah, for now. Or is she gone? Yeah.
Or is she? Yeah. I honestly think this was just really unfortunate. And we'll talk about it more in a second, because I do want to have this conversation before we go to the Hellbound Showdown about track record. I don't agree with this outcome. Based on the episode we saw, we'll talk about it, but that's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
And then we get a much less emotional, same situation with Jaharia and Abhora. They go up, and Jaharia is also exterminated here.
At this moment, it's very interesting that Abhora is giving a confessional saying, of all 4 times she mounted up the gallows, or 4, yeah.
4.
I mean, in season 1 of Titans, she done it 3 times. She was dropped twice, and then she was with and she was not dropping. There was one episode, where she basically, it was her 4th time, I believe.
Yeah,
because
so she got dropped the first episode with Erica. She got dropped the first episode. 3rd episode, she didn't get dropped, and Kendra got dropped.
Yeah, Kendra got dropped when she was with Kendra. And the final time when she got with Astrid, and she was dropped for good. Yeah, but this time, and she said, it's my 4th time being dropped, and I'm feeling very weird, very safe, very calm. I'm not dropping down at all.
Yeah. Jaharia getting eliminated here, based on the episode we saw, yes, but it does hurt a little bit because Jaharia has done so good throughout this entire competition. And Misha and I, both of our draft teams hurt from this one because this was the one unifying thing we had of maybe Jaharia wins and we both win, but maybe not. But yeah, I do think this makes sense. Based on the episode we saw, this makes sense. So before we talk about our final 3, the Hellbound Showdown, and the final 4 challenge, which is wild, I do want to have this conversation about, does track record matter? Okay, so let's chat. A couple weeks back, Blackberri and Cynthia were in the bottom in the Ghost Town Challenge. In that episode, multiple times, we had been told track record doesn't matter. Track record doesn't matter. Blackberri gets eliminated with a win. Cynthia doesn't have a win. Based on the track record we had seen in that season, Blackberri had, based on the judging, a better track record than Cynthia. Okay, track record doesn't matter, right? Sigourney goes home. I'm not going to discuss that. In this episode, though, did track record matter? Well, based on the challenge we saw, and based on even the judges' critiques, Cynthia was 3rd place this week. Did a fine job in this challenge. I would say a really great job. We both really like it. And Abhora, I'm not going to say didn't, because I think that is very subjective, but in comparison, did not do as well as Cynthia did based on the judges' critiques and based on what I've generally seen from most people online. But Abhora has 2 wins, and Cynthia doesn't have any. And we see this conversation with the Boulets where they say, would you let somebody into the finale without a win? And Swan says, in a hypothetical situation, absolutely. If they've earned, even if they've not won, if they've been doing really well and they just haven't gotten a win, but they've consistently done really well, sure, we would let somebody in the finale without a win. In my opinion, I like breaking rules like that. And it kind of set me up for an expectation in this episode that just didn't happen. And again, I'm not going to necessarily blame the Boulets on that, but when we've had this frequent conversation about track record, doesn't matter. It's all about what you do in the episode and what you're doing that week. And the Boulets have said multiple times, they judge on everything, even the things we don't see in the episode, which how are we supposed to know what's going on? It is a bit interesting to me to see Cynthia get eliminated over Abhora specifically this week. I'm not going to say I personally disagree. I think based on this episode, yes, Cynthia did better than Abhora, but if we're trying to base it on a finale performance and like who has done enough to earn their way into the finale of the season, Abhora would be the person I would pick for that. But it does feel a bit weird after we have justified the elimination of Blackberri to then do a full 180, and now we're going back to track record mattering again.
Don't think there was ever 180. I mean, I agree with you with most of what you said, but I don't think there ever was like this unwritten rule that on any given occasion somebody with more wins than somebody else would have not gone home or would have gone home. For instance, just like Last Titans, we've had in this very penultimate episode drop down Evah with 2 wins and Astrid with none. So I mean, there is quite an argument for both sides, and I think it was kind of maybe their discussion, their internal decision that Abhora would bring more to the final, or it'd be Brett Bow to her story, or they would love to bring Cynthia back for the 3rd time, or Cynthia can return via Hellbound Showdown. We shall see.
Yeah, so let's quickly go through the Hellbound Showdown real quick. I just wanted to have that conversation and see where your perspective was on it, Misha, because I do think it is interesting. But the Hellbound Showdown, it is Blackberri versus Sigourney Beaver. Here we go. Blackberri, it was very much giving me Kill Bill. I cannot remember that girl's name, but the like apprentice student, is it Sophie? Is her name Sophie? I think maybe. I haven't watched Kill Bill in a while.
Maybe Sophie. I haven't watched it since my childhood, but yeah, it's a great point. Now, and I'm seeing. I was wondering, what is it a callback for me? Why does it look so familiar? And I couldn't put my finger on it.
I'm looking it up because I want to make sure I'm correct. Yeah, Sophie. It was giving Sophie, and I think she did a really great job with it. Because I think it really sells the illusion. Is it a little bit more manga than like American comic? Yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with that. Mangas are still comic books, so sure, why not? I will say the one thing that really took me out of this was when she threw the spike ball and then it was literally just the rubber tips were bending on the floor. And I was like, that doesn't look very great. That takes me out of the spike ball illusion. But I mean, again, the rest of this outfit is just incredible. I think she did a really great job at constructing this. The head on the side is so camp, but also spooky and also just really interesting. And it does add to that like Japanese aesthetic that she was really going for here. Absolute T. I think this is really great for Blackberri.
Yeah, I would agree. It's an absolute tea, and yeah, it's just unfortunate that the performance didn't work out the way she was planning to, I believe, because there was this one moment when the spikes were dropped and Blackberry's face, I mean her face, not the other face, was like showing also some confusion, as if she stopped for a moment and didn't know what to do, and maybe that was like the final nail in the coffin. But we'll see how she compares to Sigourney. And also, it's like comic book super villain. Maybe like a movie villain. It was giving kind of more, the girl from The Call returns. I mean, not exactly her, but a girl from Kill Bill returns than a comic book character. But otherwise, no, it's a great look. Yeah, hot tea.
I mean, again, it's the Japanese schoolgirl outfit made me go to manga with this. I don't have a problem with that because, again, manga are comic books. Sounds great to me. I just don't know if it ever fully got from Japanese aesthetic to manga, maybe for other people. But I still think it looks really great. Sigourney doing her best time witch, time keeper, time person. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think she looks really great, but that hourglass was working against her the entire performance, and it made me want to punch things. So she's doing a really good job selling the outfit, right? And there is a moment near the end of the performance where she turns the hourglass upside down. It's on like an oscillating situation. But then we go back and look at her about like 10. We get a flash over to Blackberri. It goes back to Sigourney, and it's tipped back around the other way. So all of the sand is at the bottom again. We don't get to see any of the sand run through the hourglass. And I think that's because she expected an object that was heavier at the top as she's moving around to completely stay in place as she's moving around, which it's not going to do that because gravity works the other way. It wants to come to the bottom. So the reason hourglasses work is because they have a stable bottom to keep them rested, or something you can hold them steady as the sand comes out. I really think she needed like a locking mechanism on this so that way when she turned it, it would just stay in place. I can't imagine that would have been too difficult. I don't know. But in terms of the execution of this look, yeah, it's high glam Sigourney comic book realness. Like, of course it looks great. But maybe fix the hourglass next time.
Yeah, this hourglass made me think of a great quotation from a great Roxy Andrews. Sigourney, you think about inner saboteur a lot, but I want to highlight your outer saboteur, gravity. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a pretty solid look. I actually, if not for this bloody hourglass, I think it's a look I actually prefer to Blackberry's, which I wouldn't even think I would say. But yeah, she kind of nailed the performance. I think she was like more in her element, oddly enough. So yeah, I'm giving this a pretty hot tea. So, and this I think. At first I actually thought the Boulets made the wrong decision because I thought like, no, Blackberry kind of won this, but then I rewatched it and thought like, yeah, maybe they were right.
Yeah.
Sigourney kind of flashed.
Yeah, Sigourney did a really great job here. And I will say, I was a little on the fence when they were doing the judging. I figured what would happen because, again, they're not just going to say, do that whole scene at the end of the episode of Evah, you're going to pay kind of energy at the end of last week. And then Sigourney just goes home the next week. Like, no, they're not going to just throw that in for no reason. But yeah, so we do end up finishing the Hellbound Showdown. Blackberri is now perma-dead, which means we have officially, as of this week, Logan is now down to a Cynthia Doll and Dream. Blackberri is now out. So let's talk about the finale challenge. Now, importantly, next week is not the finale. Next week is the Last Supper, like we mentioned. It's the reunion. So we're going to see who makes it into the finale there. Still don't know exactly how that's going to work. We're going to watch. But it will be Cynthia, Jaharia, and Sigourney. One of them will earn a spot in the finale. Not sure if they're going to have a different challenge to do or if it's going to be like just the Boulets picking without any real differences. We're not sure. All we can say is we're going to watch and we're going to find out live. But to be clear, that means we're watching when it comes out we're not going to live stream the episode because we like monetizing this channel and we like having no copyright strikes on this channel. But the theme for the finale, correct me if I'm wrong here, Micha, historically has been a glamour look, a filth look, and a horror look.
Except for Titans 1. Exactly. So Titans 1 was the exception, and everybody hated it because it was like one long form creation production with all three pillars of Dragula, the above mentioned glamour, horror, and filth, all tied together. But now we're switching things up completely to a very exciting, actually, format of 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah. When they said you're doing 4 looks, I was like, okay. I am intrigued to see where this goes, because they start out with 4 looks, and there was this like 2-second pause before they like finished it thoughtfully, and my brain was like, okay, horror, filth, glamour. Are we just gonna do a drag look this time? Is it gonna be like, I don't know? Is it gonna be a camp look, or what else are they gonna have to? Or is it gonna be a look that you have to tie all 3 of the tenants into one look at the end for like a 4th look? No, we're doing the 4 Horsemen of the Damn Apocalypse as the theme for the finale. So they're going to go home for a month. They have all of their resources available to them to construct 4 looks themed around the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, of conquest, war, famine, and death. Death itself getting another go at the Dragula stage. Yes, please. And I love this as a concept. I think this is the kind of thing that can make a finale for Titans more interesting, where we know on the regular series, this is how the finale is going to go. I don't mind that. I think that's fine. I think it works because that should be something they expect. But here, changing up the format a little bit every season, if it's 4 looks and it's, 4 looks, and you have to do your best Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Chaotic Monster. Well, guess what? That's what we're doing. And like that idea of you never really know what you're going to be getting out of a Titans finale. Just like week to week, you have an idea, but you don't know when things are going to come at you. In this season, I think it works really well, and I cannot wait to see these performances. They are going to be incredible. Especially considering we have Abhora, Evah, JK, who all 3 have completely different drag, completely different styles. It does make me think that Sigourney is going to be the 4th person, because when we really consider the overarching differences in the drag, I feel like Sigourney is the most different from the other 3 out of who's left, in terms of none of them are like full glam like Sigourney typically goes for. But we'll see what happens. I'm very intrigued.
The very first finale with 16 looks. I mean, that's gonna be very impressive. So yeah, I'm waiting for
so fun to host that recap. 16 looks.
But I'm also
Drag Race Ball?
Yeah. Indeed. And I also can't wait for the Last Supper. I think it's going to be like the Juices, the Spiders, and probably is going to top the season 4 Last Supper, which is a very high shoes to fill.
Well, the interesting thing about this Last Supper is we don't know who's going to show up. We don't know if Eva's going to be there. We don't know if Zava's going to be there. We don't know if Jade's going to be there. We don't know if Dahlia is going to be there. Now, I will say, I believe Dahlia probably will be, because she didn't get disqualified. I could see Jade being there. Based on what the Boulets have said, I do not think Zavaleta will be there. But we'll see if she's there. Good. We'll see what happens here. It is interesting, to say the least. We haven't had a disqualification on Dragula before.
Yeah, that's the first. 2 firsts. Yeah.
I can't wait. We're on the Drag channel. I can look at that picture.
Yeah. And also how the Hellbound Showdown is going to go between the 3 monsters still having a chance to come back. So, yeah.
I can't wait to see how this
turns out. So, right.
So, before we finish off here today, it's time for a draft update. Yay! See, Micha and I can celebrate these still. we're having a great time. So for context, this was the best way we could figure to score it. it does not make sense to consider every person left in this competition, in this finale, to have been in the absolute bottom of this challenge this week, especially considering that Jay specifically was given very high critiques. The best way I could figure to do it was the 2 people that got eliminated get 0 points. The 2 people who didn't get eliminated but were up for extermination got 3. And then, of course, Evah got 5 because she won the challenge. So, based on this week's and every week's performance so far, currently in 4th place is Mike with 47.5 points. Mike does get the extra point because Sigourney wins the Hellbound Showdown. In 3rd is Logan with 52 points. In 2nd is Micha with 77.5 points. And in 1st is currently me with 85 points. Now, for the record, next week will not be considered a competitive episode. The only person who gets points will be whoever wins the Hellbound Showdown. So don't expect much of a draft change after next week. And once again, as a friendly reminder, this is a points-based draft. So if Evah wins, great. She gets a big bonus from that. It might be enough to make Micha pass me. It might not. We don't know. But we'll see who ends up coming away with it. Technically, all 4 of us have a shot to be in the finale still. Logan would have to have Cynthia win the Hellbound Showdown. Mike would have to have Sigourney win the Hellbound Showdown. If Jaharia wins, it is just me and Micha. So we'll see what happens. Currently, I have 2 people in the finale. Micha has 1. Could possibly both have 2 and 3 and 2 respectively. So we'll see how that turns out. But no matter what, there will be a definitive 4th place finisher in our draft after next week. So keep an eye out for the first person fully eliminated, at least. It will either be Micha or Logan not making the finale. So keep your eyes open for that. Make sure to tune in to all the rest of our Dragula coverage. If you missed any of the other episodes this season, or you just want to hear us rant, all of the season is covered on this channel. Go ahead and take a look back and see any of that. We have coverage of so much other drag happening on this show, on this channel, including Drag Race UK, Drag Race España, whenever it's on, the Moss. Canada's Drag Race just started back up, so keep an eye out for all of that. And of course, if you're into reality TV in general, go ahead and click the link to the Cup Up TV. And if you're into the Eurovision Song Contest, because Eurovision season is upon us, click to the Cup ESC down below, because we're about to be dropping a lot on that channel again. But until next time, follow us down below on all of our social links, our audio podcast links. Our merch link is down below as well. And you can follow Micha and I at our socials that have been scrolling on the ticker this entire recording. Thank you so much. And we'll see you probably with an asterisk. If nothing other than the winner of the Hellbound Showdown happens, we might not record next week. Just go straight to the finale and talk about who won in that episode. So there is a very good chance you will see us next week, but don't be surprised if you don't. But we will definitely be here at the worst back for the finale to discuss the winner of Dragula Titans 2 and finally see who had the best draft team. We're going to find out. But until then, thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Cheers.